send out the hymnals too.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't know if you like the lid or...
It's okay. Keeps it warm. Thank you, thank you. Jai Ma. As you see the mantras we're working on. Swamiji? Oh, it's okay. O Mangalam Gurudevaya Devyamatriksha Mangalam Mangalam Bhakta Brindevyo Sarva Lokaya Mangalam Om Stapakaya Dharmasya Sarva Dharma Sarupine Avatar Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Mangalam Om Sarashiva Samarambam Shankarachara Madhyamam Ashmarachara Prayantam Vande Gurum Paramparam Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwara Guru Deva Param Brahman Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Bhadrakali Namo Nityam Saraswati Namo Namaha Vera Veranda Veranda Vijastana Evacha Sri Ganesha Sharada Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om Jai Ma Jai Ma. So, continuing our discussion of the Kali Sahasranāma, the 1,000 names of Kali. I think this is talk 43 or 44. It's been a long, we haven't talked since the COVID, the week before COVID, the closures for COVID is the last time we gave a talk, except for 2 weeks ago when we started again. And then last week we were about to give a talk. We prepared, and then Revered Swami Sarvadevananda surprised everybody by coming here and gave a beautiful, spontaneous, unprepared talk on Holy Mother. It was very wonderful. And so we're hopefully encouraging him every time he's in the area. Hopefully once a month he'll come and give satsang here. So I'll be pushing him. You guys can also, those who have his ear, also push him. He can come, that'd be very wonderful. So we picked up, we're on verse 33 of the Kali Sahasranāma. And the names are, I think we're on 249, 250, as far as how many names we're into. So you can see we've been talking so many lectures, so many months of discussion, just on a few names of Kali. And so this is great because I think this is an unending way to contemplate Kali, rather than just a talk on, the symbolism of Kali or, Shaktism in Bengal or something like that. We can give those talks, right? But then the talk is given and it's done, right? This allows us to continue rotate these divine thoughts in our mind continuously about the nature of the Divine Mother. So actually, I usually don't do this, but there's a Viniyoga mantra for the Kali Sahasranāma. So I'll chant it, good to invoke the deities. Omasya Sri Kali Sahasranāma Strota Mahamantrasya Mahakala Bhairava Rishihi Anushtup Smashana Kalika Devata Mahakalika Prasada Siddhyartha Siddhyarte Jape Viniyoga. This starts with stating the intention, the Viniyoga, the purpose, the application of the 1,000 names. For this mantra, this great Maha mantra, this great mantra of the 1,000 names of Kali, Mahakala Bhairava is the Rishi. So that's Mahakala Bhairava, and our shrine is one laying underneath Mahakali, right? So he is a fierce form of Kali, who's the infinite consciousness itself, time itself. So he is the one who reveals this mantra. He is the one who reveals these names, right? And the deity is Smashan Kali, the Kali of the cremation ground, which immediately sets the mood a little different. I remember back to our very first talk is on this series that the very first name is Smashana, cremation. Smashana Kali, I think is how it starts. Smashana, that she is the cremation ground, and she is the Kali of the cremation ground. I believe those are the first two names. It's been a while. And compare that to Lita Sahasranāma, Sri Mata, right? So the auspicious mother, right? So it's a very different bhav, right? So this is the deity is the Kali of the cremation ground, Kali. Then Maha Kalika Prasad Siddhartha. In order to attain right? The blessings, the mercy, the blessings of Mahakali is the reason it's being recited. So these names are recited for that purpose. I thought, since we have this, some names, some verses are difficult to pronounce, and I'm scared to say them out loud to embarrass myself, because we got a microphone and record a camera and everything. And but this one is not that difficult to pronounce. I thought we can recite, repeat out. Let me get it in my head. I haven't looked at it since a couple of days. So you can repeat after me. Sunandā nandinī stutyā, sunandā nandinī stutyā, stavanīya-svabhāvinī, raṇkiṇī bhaṇkinī citrā, vicitrā, citra-rūpiṇī, sunandā nandinī stutyā, stavanīya-svabhāvinī, raṇkiṇī bhaṇkinī citrā, vicitrā, citra-rūpiṇī, sunandā stutyā, stavanīya-svabhāvinī, raṇkiṇī bhaṇkinī citrā, vicitrā, citra-rūpiṇī. So a couple weeks ago we mentioned we got to the first two names, Sunanda and Nandinī. And I also made a comment that there's different versions of this hymn where the different names are there. Was it what was what is it? Subhada. That's right. The first name is given. There's different versions of it. As far as I can tell, I'm getting more. As I contemplate and look at other discrepancies, I'm beginning to think this is probably more authentic. So anyway, Subhada is also a beautiful name, who gives auspiciousness, a good name for the Divine Mother. But Sunanda, get back here. Too many notes. So we mentioned Sunanda is delight. She is delightful, giver of delight, like this. And then Nandinī, a very similar meaning. She who is delightful. Sometimes she who brings delight is a common name for a daughter, is the one who brings delight to a family, like that. We discuss quite a bit. So then, where are we here? Stutyā, that's where name we are. Stutyā. Name 251. Stutyā. Stutyā means she who is praised, or she who is praise, right? It could be both, right? So there's different, I mentioned a couple weeks ago that there's not many translations available of this hymn. The two that I have that are on my desk, usually, there's one by Swami Bhajanananda from Kali Mandir. He translated "she who is praise," right. And then the one by a professor, disciple of Anandamoy Ma, Premlata Piliwal, the one who is fittest for all adorations or offering prayers, right? So she who is, in a certain sense, she who is praiseworthy, the one that we should praise, right? So, my knowledge of Sanskrit is not well enough, it's not strong enough or distinct enough to know whether she's praise itself, the act of praising is her, or if she's the one that's the fit object of praise. And we mentioned that my interpretation of the names is it's describing her qualities, right? Let's say she's worthy of praise, but she's the thing itself, not just this name is not describing. It's describing one of her qualities, and it's describing her itself. So the example I gave is she who is. There's one name that she who is blissful, right? So that means so that's a quality. That's guna. A quality of hers, that she's blissful, but she's also bliss. It's bliss itself. Or she's angry, right? So that she's angry, that's a quality, but she's not. There's not an absolute duality with her. So she's anger itself. She's the thing itself. So similarly, it could be taken this way. She's the one that's praised, but she's the one worthy of praise, right? She's praised and worthy of praise, but she's also praised itself. So I appreciate that thing he mentioned. So the goddess that is praised, you can think like that. Worthy of praise, the object of praise, and put it to, you can put the two ideas a bit together. When one is praising, right, that's her. That's another way, a way we can think of it. When we're praising her, that she's that praise. She's the act of being praised, right? And so this name moves very nicely, both by rhyme, by sound. Stutyā, stavanīya. So stavanīya, the next name, stavanīya-svabhāvinī, actually. Stavanīya-svabhāvinī. So how do we split the name? Stavanīya could be one name, because it has a meaning. Svabhāvinī is also a beautiful name, if we take it by itself. But the two translations we have put these names, these two words together into one name, stavanīya-svabhāvinī. So stavanīya has a very similar meaning to stutyā. Right, it means also one who is praised and praiseworthy. Praiseworthy is probably a good translation. Worthy or proper to be praised or celebrated, or she's lollable. What is it? Lollable? Lolliable? Lolliable. There's a word for that. I know the word, but I don't know how to pronounce it. What is it? Laudable. Thank you. That's laudable. Once I put an extra sound, I can't get it out. She's lollable. Yes. She's praiseworthy, right? That's like that, right? And it's related to the word stuti and stava, right? And also means praising, celebrating, eulogizing, like this, right? But then we connect it to, so she's worthy of praise. So we will go back to that. What does it mean to be worthy of praise? Actually, as we go through the rest of the names don't deal with this. They take a very different direction. But I think they'll be quite connected if we contemplate them. So stavanīya, again, she who's worthy of praise. Why is she worthy of praise? What are the what in Christian theology, Jewish theology, and Islamic theology? They have many times we find with there's biblical verses that say, "Oh, thou who are worthy of praise," and then used with like, "Oh, you who have created the world," or "You who save us," right? Or "You who protect us." Therefore, you alone are worthy of praise. These are common in Western tradition, Western theism, right? So different reasons are given for why God is praiseworthy, right? And here by God we mean the goddess, the Divine Mother, is praiseworthy. So I'll change the he's to she's for the sake of our present august gathering, right? She's praiseworthy because of what she has made. That's a very biblical idea. You look at this world you have made, only you could make this. Only you are worthy of praise, because a reason you can praise somebody is for look at what wonderful thing that they've done or they've made, right? She is praiseworthy for what she has done, right? She's praiseworthy for what she is doing, because done is like, oh, look what you've done. You saved, in the biblical, you saved our people. Or you killed Shumba Nishumba. And that's a very common, you'll see verses like this. You are worthy of praise because you who killed Shumba Nishumba and saved the gods from the torture of the demons, something like that, right? Look what you've done, right? But also, that's fine. This is 1,000 yugas ago, right? Before the creation of the world, right? When Vishnu was asleep in the cosmic ocean, and some demons came out of the dirt from Vishnu's ear, and Brahma praised her, right? Because it was similar verses. You alone are worthy of praise, and look what she's done. She woke up Vishnu, right? She withdrew. The story. This is a story from the Chandi, Devi Mahatmyam, first story of the Chandi. So she can be. Look what she's done. It's wonderful. We think we're told to contemplate, and we're encouraged to contemplate these stories, right? But I'm not terribly satisfied with just knowing what happened, what we think happened millions and millions of yugas ago before creation, right? Well, it's great, but it's like these are just words. I mean, we have no way to understand that. So we have to think maybe this can happen now, not just what she did, but what is she doing, right? If that story has meaning besides perhaps a mythic story, a creation myth. We can do all kinds of things to describe it as some maybe we believe it's symbolic, maybe we believe it actually happened, right, in some way beyond our understanding, how we understand it, right? But if it matters, I think it also, I mean, I have to be careful what I say. It matters more for personally is what she if she kills Shumba Nishumba now, if she awakens Vishnu now. So an example of that story of the sleeping Vishnu and the demons coming out of the dirt of his ears. One interpretation, possible interpretation that's given, traditional interpretation, not just mine, is that Vishnu can represent consciousness, right? Sleep. So, and when consciousness is asleep, sleeping consciousness, perhaps our consciousness is asleep, not fully awake, right? There is a result. There is a residue, dirt that comes from sleeping consciousness, right? And those are, in the story is not Shumba Nishumba, it's Madhu Kaitaba, right? So then we think, who is Madhu, who is Kaitaba? What do they represent, right? And you can attribute any number of meanings for Madhu and Kaitaba. Or in later stories, Shumba Nishumba, Rakta Bija, Dubmara Lochana, all these various demons. We can attribute some. It's not hard to attribute some psychological obstacle, internal. Maybe it was an ancient world. There was a story of a demon who attacked Vishnu, like that. And I'm not doubting that, right? But it's our experience too. There is stuff that attacks our consciousness that is born from our own ignorance, right? And look what she has done, right? Or look what she is doing. Or we can turn that into another point. Look what she can do, or she will do, right? And when we hear that story, how she awoke in Vishnu, or how she killed Mahishasura, or how she drank the blood of Rakta Bija, right? And we can think, that's what she's doing in our sadhana. Maybe she's not doing that in our sadhana right now, but she can do it, and maybe she will. There's even the Chandi. There's promises. This is a big thing. This is another reason, like in the biblical tradition, you are worthy of praise based upon promises. What he promises to do. Here, what she promises to do. Like in the Chandi, in the class at end of the second story of the story on the Chandi, when Mahishasura is killed, right? She offers a boon. The gods pray to her, and she offers a boon. And one of the boons that they get is that whenever we're in this situation again, when Mahishasura comes up again, somebody is a buffalo demon. So maybe it's not an exact thing. It's something similar. Some demon comes up again in our consciousness, in our life, in the world, right? She promises, I will save you. They ask, and that she blesses that she will come and rescue us, right? And so the next time it happens, what happens? They're now Shumba Nishumba have attacked, right? A new set of demons have come up, and the gods, remembering this, that she offered a long time ago, she offered us a boon. She promised that if we remember her with these hymns, right, she will end our suffering. And so then they do the Yadevi Sarvabhuteshu, right? That goddess who exists in all beings as every manifestation of consciousness and energy, right? Yadevi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Samsita Namastasya 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 Namo Yadevi Sarvabhuteshu Trishna Rupena, Shanti Rupena, Lakshmi Rupena, Bhranti Rupena, all these different beautiful attributes, manifestations of consciousness. She exists in all beings. Remembering her, then she appeared. And she came out of them, actually. This is not I want to give a talk on I love the Chandis. I want to give a talk on the Chandi. So whatever the topic is, I want to talk on Chandi. I shall just cop myself. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, remember how you said that each of these demons represents some of the psychological obstacles? And that's pretty true. I know about the Mahishasura. I remember reading someplace that it is the tamas in our cycle, like laziness.
Yes.
And all this. So what basically is saying, when you do Mahishasura Mardini Stotram, she's gonna, because she's the one who slayed Mahishasura, you overcome your laziness.
Yes. That's the point.
The cosmos, that's the Mahishasura, but inside our brain is a similar representation of the cosmos. And so I just was gonna enforce what you said. Madhu, Ketab, and all this, they're also like some sort of obstacles and not so good qualities within us. And you're pretty right about
No, that's what. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Probably one more question. Sorry. What is it about Maya that can get rid of all these obstacles?
What is it? I'm sorry.
Why is it just Maya gets rid of these obstacles that all the Sahasra Devas?
Actually, I mean, we're not presenting this from a sectarian perspective, right? Because like here is in the Chandi story is about the Devi who gets rid of these obstacles, right? In the Bhagavatam it's Krishna, right? In Vishnu Purana it's Vishnu, Shiva Purana it's Shiva, right? So the idea that the God is worthy of praise in this like that because look what he's done. He's created the world. Look what he can do. What he's done, what he's created, and here what he can do, right? He can, just as he saved. You could say like, and then we can change the prayers into because our topic is Kali, where these are examples. But in the so many prayers in the Bhagavatam that says, just as you saved Gajendra, right? You will save me. Same idea, right? Just like Ajamil was saved by calling out the name of his son Narayana, you saved him. Right, so this is the same type of mood of why God is praiseworthy. One of the reasons is praise. Look what you've done. If again you'll do what you've done, we believe you've done what you're doing and what you will do. This is that promise, like that. Yeah. So in the Chandi, they remember what you promised to do, right? So it's another reason, and so even those promises are connected to praise. Those who praise you with these hymns, you will always come and save them, right? So therefore, she's praiseworthy, right? And then, but so in theological discussions, when it's like why the divine is praiseworthy, right? What she's made, what she's done, what she is doing, right? What she will do, and then also in some tradition, she'll save us. She'll liberate, or maybe she'll liberate us finally. These are larger ideas, right? But even more, there's also, I'm forgetting, there's a theological term in Western system also, but I'm forgetting, but it's also who she is. She's praiseworthy, right? Not just for what she does, she's praiseworthy for what she is. And I think that's very profound. It's like, it's not just what you'll do, what you've done. There's the old scene from a Mighty Python movie where they're, sorry, I'm going to bring some quote the Chandi as well as Mighty Python, where they're, this is my problem. Maybe this is why we don't make more spiritual progress. We're on a couple of different channels at any given time, right? But it's very profound, I think, where people are praising. It's like, oh gosh, right? Gosh, oh Lord, gosh, you're huge. Right? We're mighty impressed down here. Right, it's like his ideas was like that's one way of praising. Gosh, you're huge. We're mighty impressed, right? But that may be not sufficient, right? There may be some deeper meanings than just that way of thinking of God. Look what God has done, who God is, but also who God is. So who God is, who God is the one who's created the universe. Or if that's the theological point, then there's no actual creation. But look what she's done. So that's who she is, the one who does those things, the one who can do those things, the one who will do those things. All these things are aspects of that goddess, right? But there's deeper, because in this name, what is it? Stavanīya-svabhāvinī. This svabhāvinī is very important. Svabhāvinī is her own intrinsic nature. She's praiseworthy because of who she is. That's really what it means, right? Her intrinsic nature is praiseworthy, right? So what does that mean? So and so there's also some idea that this way one way to interpret this is that she is her svabhāvinī. She's svabhāvinī. Her own nature, her own essential nature is praiseworthy. But then we can turn that as what's our essential nature? Our essential nature, we be careful not to say praiseworthy. People shouldn't, you should let me, I'll tell you all of my good qualities so you can praise me, right? Right? Our essential nature is to praise, right? So she's praiseworthy, and our essential nature is to praise her. Her essential nature is praiseworthiness, and our essential nature is to praise her, right? So how could that be, right? In the devotional language, you can imagine that if we're apart, and we can switch theological channels, right? One of them could be she's the source, right? And so it's natural to long for our source, right? Or she's the base, the foundation. It's natural for, or she's the whole, right? And we're apart, right? It's natural for the part to long for the whole. It's natural for one to long for our source, right? Or our foundation, or our svabhava, or it's also natural to long for our essential nature. If she's our essential nature, which verses will say she's our essential nature, right? So it's recognizing spiritual life is much about recognizing who we are, right? But it is also about recognizing what we want, right? So who we are is connected to what we want, right? If we're part of the whole, if we're from the source, if our essential nature is ultimately that or her, right? In some real sense, right? It's natural to recognize that, right? Recognizing what we really, so we can say what we really want. We can say, what do we really want? We want bliss, we want happiness, we want security, we want comfort, we want completeness, we want fullness. We can give all these like that. So that's good, right? But I think we can go, because these are personal names. This is not a text, this is not a list of philosophical, ontological concepts. These are personal names of a person, right? Of a deity, right? All Sahasranāmas are such, right? So it's not just recognizing what we want, bliss, happiness, sustenance, right? It's recognizing who we want, right? She is who we want. She is it's our nature to praise, to long for, to contemplate, right? So praise is a recognition of that, right? And it's also a recognition. It's a recognition, but it's of the object of our longing, right? But it also becomes a means of that connection, right? Because praise is not just our essential nature or her essential nature, right? It's also a spiritual path. That's called, and so within the traditional list, excuse me, of for Nava Bhakti, for instance, right? The different teachings of different practices of devotion, right? Vandana is one of them. Praise is one of them. Pujya is one of them. Worship is one of them, right? So praise and worship, right? Singing praise and worship, offering pada sevana, worshiping the lotus feet. These are sadhanas also. To worship the lotus feet of God is itself our essential nature. It's what we are and who we are. And to be worshipped by us is who she is, who he is, right? It's also the path. It's also a legitimate spiritual practice. Kind of playing with the idea of like yoga is both a method and the goal, right? Something like that. Even bhakti, right? From the bhakti tradition, bhakti is the goal, right? Our real nature is to love God, right? And bhakti yoga is the path. Bhakti is the method of that. So similarly, something like this I'm contemplating. So actually this just intellectual contemplations, the term svabhava, right? We use it. We find it all over in Hindu texts, right? But it develops very early in Buddhist texts, right? And in Buddhism, svabhava is used something similar to how we would use atman. Of course, Buddhism is most schools of Buddhism are anatman, without the concept of self. But actually, even in the criticism of the Atman doctrine, they would use svabhava as a word for that. It's the idea of a permanent, unchanging identity or a substratum. And so this line is used in Buddhism, but of course they're critiquing whether or not there is a permanent, unchanging identity or substratum, right? But if there is a permanent, unchanging identity or substratum, that's svabhava. But she is svabhāvinī. So let's take it that way. She herself is the unchanging, permanent identity or substratum of reality, right? So in Vedantic language, that's called Brahman. Brahman's nature is unchanging, permanent, right? Substratum of everything, right? So her nature is Brahman, but she's stavanīya-Brahman, right? So she's Brahman that's praiseworthy, right? So immediately you've already taken the idea of Brahman into a devotional flavor, right? Brahman is not just a philosophical concept, but it is the one we're after and whom we're after, right? So then, so sunandā, nandinī, stutyā, stavanīya-svabhāvinī, right? Then you have two. They're not outliers, but they seem outliers here because all the other names could be talked about in a general theological way. Raṇkiṇī and bhaṇkinī. These are stranger words, right? And I think they have to be understood in the Kali Sahasranāma. There's clusters of names, like Lita Sahasranāma. There's clusters of names. Right, and so sometimes you get to understand what name means, or what's the point, or how to understand it. You have to understand it where its relations to other names. And this is true when you're doing exegesis of text. When you have a word or an idea in a scripture, and you're trying to understand what it means, first thing you do is you look at the verses right before it, the right after the sentence before and sentence after it. Then you look at the paragraph, and you look at the chapter, the main concept of the book, and slowly you try to get. But there's not prose, right? Not prose or poetry. These are just name after name. So you can still do it with the names, right? It's a little trickier, right? But you will see. I mean, I didn't give you the next verse. The next verse will have bhaṇkinī, right, is one word, I think. Nandinī and bhaṇkinī. There's all these, and so if we know nandinī and bhaṇkinī, then we can get an idea of what raṇkiṇī and what is it? And bhaṇkinī, right? So because nandinī and bhaṇkinī, those are known in Tantra, right, as existing within the chakras, existing as auxiliary avarana devatas of Kali or Devi, and we talked last time that a characteristic of Tantra, one of the characteristics, common characteristics, not all, of Tantra is a deity surrounded by energetic manifestations, right? So you have Kali surrounded by her attendants, or in the Sri Yantra as an example, you have Devi Tripura Sundari surrounded by concentric circles of Shaktis, right, all the way out, right? That's a very common conception. These mandalas, even with like Radha Krishna and surrounded by 8 gopis and 108 gopis and 16,000 and 1,000 gopis and 16,000 gopis, like this, right? Way of conceptualizing. The yantras are based upon this. So bhaṇkinī, dakiṇī, raṇkiṇī, and bhaṇkinī are in that category. Can be seen in that category. This is important because I can't say much inspirational about bhaṇkinī and raṇkiṇī, right? I'll say something, but there's only so much you can say because their deity. I could simply say their deities worshipped in certain mandalas of the Devi. These are Shaktis of the Devi, right? And by saying that this is not a list of names of things that are Devi Shaktis. These are Devi's names. That means her Shaktis are not different from her. So there I said something inspirational, right? That means everything that all of Ma's Shaktis are non-different from her, right? This world is Ma's Shakti, right? We're Ma Shaktis, we're her Shaktis, we're her gunas, right? And therefore, in that sense, everything is also non-different. So you can think of it this way also, and that's part of the meditation. By seeing these different deities, these matrikas and devis surrounding the central deity in the yantra, you see how the one has become everything. It's a yantra can't. One of the ways to understand a yantra is how the one has become. We think, Ma has become everything. How did that work? We can see it. And a yantra is a way of understanding it. How the one has become different shaktis, controlling different gunas, and they've manifested and expressed out like that, right? So these are two such deities, but their presence here gives a hint to certain other names. Like coming up is citra, vicitrā, citra-rūpiṇī, right? Citra, vicitrā, and citra-rūpiṇī has meaning, right? They're beautiful names, right? They're names like that. But they're also such deities. They're deities that are in tantric circles, right? Tantric deities like that. So they're also listed. So and they're in the presence of these others that are only seen in relationship as Devi's energies, matrikas expanding from the Devi. That gives a hint at these other names as ways of understanding those other names as well. Like Citra means something, but it's also the name of a deity, of a matrika, right? Vicitrā means something; it's also a name of a matrika, right? So I think that this cluster of names helps. Seeing where it is in a cluster, I think, helps to understand it.
Wow.
Right.
In the arati, I have vicitrā. Is vicitrā different from vicitrā?
Again, sorry?
Vicitrā. Is she different from vicitrā?
I don't know. Viprachita has this. You have to show. I don't know because there's different tantras will give a different list, right? And some of them are shared, some of them are not shared, right? And we'll see. Actually, this is like we're getting ahead of ourselves, but eventually we'll get to names in the Kali Sahasranāma that will be names of deities in the Sri Chakra. Right, so so that's not the list. That's not the group of deities in the Kali Yantra, right? But what is it saying? That means that she is the deity and all the Avarana devatas of the Sri Chakra, right? There's in the last chapter, or the next to the penultimate chapter of the Devi Gita, Devi Bhagavatam, Srimad Devi Bhagavatam. It describes Devi's heaven world of the Mani Dweep, right? And it describes all these deities. Many of them can be seen in the Sri Chakra. Not all of them. There's a different list, but many of them we can. When we hear them, I know those. I know those from the Khargamala Storatam or something like that. But not all of them. So it's not a systematic list. Right, but it's various deities that can be found there. Of course, this is we're guessing. I'm assuming. These are deities. These are yantra shaktis of matrikas of the Devi. Only because of the cluster. That's the only way we see. Right. So the translation given by Swami Satyananda is she who manifests subtly, right. And Premlata Pilali says, the mother manifested as a spirit of cosmic nothingness, likened to the state of material poverty. And I was really thinking, of course, I'm making this up, she's making this up. All we know is the word raṇkiṇī, right? So what does that mean, right? So, but I was thinking, where did she get this? Where did he get this, right? They must have found it in a Sanskrit dictionary, some source of the root. Right, so it made me think about these things, right? So the term, if it's so actually it says raṇkiṇī or raṇkiṇī. It can be N or an M with the dot underneath it, right? That's like a bij mantra almost, right? So you can say, so one way you can think of it is the term Ra. So Ra in a mantra form becomes Ram. Right, and so as a deity becomes raṇkiṇī, right, or Bam or Bha becomes bhaṇkinī. So one way to understand how these words, like an example of how this is the secret of how many bij mantras are put in. A bij mantra is the seed of something, right? Bija means seed, right? So the first letter of something is often the seed of the first letter of a word is the seed of the word generally, right? So look at like there's esoteric bij mantras, but let's say we have Narasingha, so he has his esoteric bij mantras. But if you're doing puja to Prahlad, Narasingha's devotee, right? Does he have a bij mantra? He does. It's just his word. His name is Prahlad, right? So take the first letter pra, right, and then put Chandrabindu and it says pram, Om Pram Praladaya Namaha. Right, or Radha, Ram, Ra, right, and so sometimes there's many bij mantras like they say, oh, that seems really esoteric. But if you think about it, even like I won't say it out loud unless we get to the name, but there's like the Hrileka mantra, these Maya bijas, right? It's Hrileka, it's a heart mantra. The word Hrileka is Hra. With Chandrabindu, it becomes a bij mantra, right? So the very first letter of words is the bij sound of that word, right? So that's one of the way if we take it as raṇkiṇī, bhaṇkinī as a letter ra, right? The letter ra in Sanskrit, some ancient Sanskrit dictionary, is related to fire, to strength, right? Connected to Indra. So if it's that those natures, one way to contemplate these things, right? But so in the Sat Chakra, in our subtle anatomy class, we talked a lot about where a lot of the popular ideas of the chakras come from. This text called the Sat Chakra Nirupana, right? From Sri Tattva Chintamani, a very ancient text, or not that ancient, but it's an important text where we get our most popular version of the chakras, right? So there it mentions raṇkiṇī as a Shakti, right? And there it connects different deities connected to certain sounds and finds them as presiding deities in different chakras, right? So I'll give you an example. So if you go from Muladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha, and Agnya, in that text it says Dakini in Muladhara, Rakinī in Swadhisthana, Lakini in Manipura, Kakini in Anahata, Shakini in Vishuddha, Hakini in Agnya. There it's given, right? So this could be that, right? It's mentioning these deities, these essential deities that are in the chakras, that are Shakti, the Divine Mother, right? Right. So Rakinī is in Swadhisthana. Swadhisthana in the subtle anatomy version of Tantra and Tantric Yoga, right, is connected with blood, right? It's connected to blood, and therefore raṇkiṇī is a deity of blood, right? So also that connects it to Kālī, right? You can see things like that. So, anyways, gets a little bit strange, but it gets. These are esoteric names of chakras and like that. So what about bhaṇkinī? This bham, right? It's translated as she who is ferocious, right? Or Premlata Piliwali, the divine imp, female, and means here divine imp is something like some Shakti, some Matrika, some Devi, some subsidiary deity, Devi, right? Some imp. Female energy of the mother representing her own cosmic shadow. So interesting, It's very nice. So even if like just think about that. There's some Shakti that represents her own, the Devi's cosmic shadow. So, so I'm not quite sure how she got it. I tried to analyze the term ba, right? Ba, not ba, right? And it's connected to a light and beauty, but also bham, when ba becomes bham, right, has connected to anger and wrath, right? So like Bhairava, there's that type of bha sound is a fierce sound. But so I don't know, maybe because of the similarity from ba to ba, why it's been translated as ferocious, right? I don't know, right? What's that? Bhagavan. Yeah, the term ba could be there, yeah. Bhagavan, yeah. Right. So since this collection of names seems to be connected to Avarana Devatas, these matrikas, and seems to be connected to the chakras, right? So her letter is connected. The letter ba in the chakras. There's when the chakras are visualized as lotuses, right? Every petal has a sound, right? So the sound ba is also in the Swadhisthana chakra. Right, generally, right. Anyways, so raṇkiṇī, bhaṇkinī, how to understand them? These are mysterious sounds, right? Maybe connected to the chakras, maybe connected to the deities that surround the Devi, the Matrika deities, right? So now we get to, I think, interesting names. Citrā, vicitrā, citra-rūpiṇī, right? So citra is a beautiful name. Citra means artistic. Right, a painter. Painting is citra, right?
Isn't it also consciousness?
That's a good question. Whether citra comes from consciousness itself, it might. I don't know. Right, citra is always considered to be this artistic, colorful. Yeah, a princess. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu. So she who is artistic, Satyananda is translated, and Premlata, she translated the colorful mother, radiant with multiflorious cosmic gunas, responsible for the birth of creation. There's a lot in there, from artistic to radiant with multiflorious cosmic gunas, responsible for the birth of creation, right? But it's not just, I mean, it's verbose and fancy, right? Right? There's a philosophy and theology in this, right? It's giving a hint of I think what's meant by citra here. So another, citra means artistic. Citra also means picture. A painting or a picture is citra, right? It could means like wonderful, variegated, right? Variegated, beautiful, painted, right? So that's the meaning. So artistic, a painting, a picture, but also the qualities wonderful, variegated, beautiful, right? So it's not just a picture, but it's the picture. It's not a picture of a blank wall or something. It's a picture of it's a beautiful picture of multiple things, right? So when she says the responsible for the birth of creation, this is a beautiful artistic, poetic description of creation, right? As Ma's painting, Ma's creation, she's created the variety, right? So that's something like that. But because of the connection with raṇkiṇī and bhaṇkinī, right? It also, citra is also one of the, it's a subtle nadi. In the subtle body, there is, right? We have many people already know this a little bit, but in the subtle body, we have the idea of the ida and pingala, these two pathways that are active when we breathe through different nostrils, right? And then in the center of the spine, we have the sushumna, right? So the sushumna, within sushumna, we think of, there's a central passage, but and it could just be that, but some texts, right, will describe the central passage as not just one passage, but several passages, right? And you could think of it as there's a tube, maybe overly physically conceptualizing it. I'm giving a painting of it, a citra version of it, right? There's, let's say, there's the outer thing, and then within it there's a more subtle or inner passage or river or stream, and within that there's even something more, right? But it was explained to me by those who have maybe some experience or have experience explaining it to people, at least, right? That it's not like if you cut the spine, you see like concentric rings like a tree or something, right? Like that. Within it, there's within the sushumna, there's another nadi. Within that, there's another nadi. But you can think of it as states of subtlety. Like within it, even subtler than that is another nadi, subtler than that is another. So sushumna, within the sushumna, there's vajra nadi, right? Vajriṇī nadi, right? Vajriṇī nadi, and so the sushumna is considered to be almost like empty, right? But within the vajra nadi, there is said to be like the sun, right? And the sun, if you put something in the sun, what happens to it? It dries up, right, and withers, right? You cut a vegetable, put it in the sun, it withers, right? So suns dry things up, right? So sun is considered in this sense to be poisonous, right? So within the sushumna there is a stream of subtle poison, right? That resonates in the external part of the body with the secretions and flows in the body that cause old age and death, right? Within the Vajriṇī nadi or Vajra nadi, there is the citra nadi. So here we get the word citra, also known as citrā-rūpiṇī nadi, right? And that is said to be full of nectar, right? Full of moonlight, right? So you have the sun and the moon. You have poison and nectar, right? So this could be referring to she is she's raṇkiṇī and bhaṇkinī. These are deities in the Swadhisthana chakra, perhaps, right? But she's also citra. That means she's describing different nadis, right? Right. Within the citra nadi, there's another nadi that's called Brahma nadi, right? Brahma nadi is Brahman, Brahman itself, right? In the three chakra, that is the central point, right? Nini yantra, that's the central point, right? That's Brahman itself, right? It comes out, sun, moon, sun, and everything comes from that, right? Now, citra as a nadi, right? And citra as artistic, poetic, variegated painting, picture, right? Image like that. These are connected, right? Because it says, the text will say that citra nadi is responsible for things that create pictures in the mind, right? Like dreams, hallucinations, visions. Of course, dreams, hallucinations, and visions, these are three categories that may be the exact same thing with different levels of value put on them, right? Or maybe there's a I tend to think of them not as the exact same thing or three different things, but as a continuum. What is it? Continuum. I guess continuum. It's not the word I'm. But it's all right. The idea is there, not the word I wanted. But yeah, continuum. Right. So there are some people, right, that to whom dreams, hallucinations, and visions come naturally, right? Like people like painters, right? People like poets, right, and also visionaries, or prophets. Right, could be people who live in a world, and so from the subtle anatomy perspective, they would say that such people have a very active citra nadi, right? That nadi is already is predominant, right? So citra and then vicitrā. What does vicitrā mean, right? So the term "v" added it qualifies the term or accentuates the term. Right, the term, like I'm often called Videshi sadhu, right? So deshi means somebody is from that particular place. Videshi is foreigner, right? Something special. It's a different type of exemption. So citra is a picture, right? Like this. So vicitrā could be think of like a strange picture. Right, it's like a one, or maybe strange is a negative term, but I like the word strange. It means wonderful, right? I'm sometimes thinking I have a guru by Revered Swami Paramananda. Some of you have met him, a great soul. But our Guruji Swami Omananda would describe him. Oh, he's an adbhut sadhu, right? So adbhut means has a beautiful double meaning. Adbhut means spiritual. Divine, right? Adbhut, right? It also means weird, right? Strange, right? And Swami Paramananda is both a divine being for sure, right? But he's a little weird. He's a little strange. Socially, like that, his presentation is a little bit, but it's or it also means amazing. He's also an amazing sadhu. There's very few people I've met who've been able to do what he's done, the way he's lived, austerities performed, how he lives now, right? In his 80th birthday, on half blind, he walked on foot to from Delhi to Kedarnath, right, for his 80th birthday. It's like this is like we took a walk with him. He fell 3 blocks from his house. He can't walk down the street, but he walked. I mean, he's like he's amazing. So amazing, divine, and slightly strange. All those are in the same word adbhut, right? It's like and so similarly, I think it's the vicitrā has a little bit of this idea, right? So Swami Satyananda is translated, she who has various artistic capabilities, right? And our other author, the mother as the spirit of cosmic wonder, causing the eternal bewilderment and life as a whole. We'll see how we can get this. So literal meaning of vicitrā is amazing, weird, strange, odd. That could be the way you like this. But in Tantra, she's like raṇkiṇī and bhaṇkinī. She's one of the yakshini. There are 36 yakshinis in some tantric manuals. She's one of them, right? So she's one of these auxiliary deities, right? And then also the word itself, I said, means amazing, weird, strange, odd, right? But in a sentence, how would you describe it? it's a way of emphasizing this citra idea. So in a hymn that you chant so nicely, in the Kali Kastakam, there is a verse, right? Maha Mega Kali, what is it, Swamiji? Suraktapi, you know the verse? Subra, Kadachit Vicitra, Yogamaya. Nabala navriddha nakama turapi swarupam twadiyam navirati devaha. Right, so it's describing, this hymn is attributed to Adiguru Shankaracharya, right? It's describing the Divine Mother. You are black like a dark cloud, red like fresh blood, and white like radiant crystal. Right, Megha Kali. So that's this. What we get we can give lecture on the Kali Kastakam, which I hope to do one day, right? But you are dark, like a dark cloud, black like a dark cloud, red like fresh blood, and white like radiant crystal. Using very tantric poetic images to describe her three gunas of black, red, and white, right? Right. So in other words, so she is the three gunas. This is a simple way of understanding it. One way to understand it, right? You assume a myriad of forms through your yoga maya, right? That kadachit vicitrā kritir yoga maya, right? So there are vicitras there, right? By your yoga maya, right? You assume, which is through the three gunas, right? You're black, white, and red. Black like a dark cloud, red like fresh blood, white like radiant crystal. You assume these various forms, vicitrā, right, through yoga maya, through your yoga maya, right? So I think this is also giving a hint, and this cluster of names, I think, can point to it. In the next verse, which I didn't give, will also have a little hint of that, both connecting it to the chakras and to the auxiliary deities, right, but also to her nature as projecting the world of name and form. Right, through her yoga maya, through what we have to say with yoga maya, through her maya, she shows herself or becomes a wonderful and strange world of variety. Right, we see this world. Right, when there's only one, we see this world. Right, vicitrā. Okay, I'm out of time. I'll do the last name here. raṇkiṇī, bhaṇkinī, citrā, vicitrā, citra-rūpiṇī. So citra, vicitrā, rūpiṇī, and citra-rūpiṇī, right? So we have to understand. So again, citra is there, right? So we have citra and citra. So rūpiṇī, what is rūpiṇī? So her form is that of citra. She's citra-rūpiṇī, something like this, right? But what does rupa mean? Rupa means form, right? So rupa also means, just like the svabhāvinī is one's own nature, right? Rupa, swarupa is also you could say one's form, but it's also one's nature, right? So it's a very similar word, right? It means both form and nature. It's like swarupa and swabhava, right? But it could also mean, citra means picture. What's a picture? She has created this picture of what? Of forms. Could also be that, right? So I think we can play with it in both ways. She becomes this world of name and form. A picture. We see this world of form. She's citra-rūpiṇī, right? And she's also, it's her nature, right? The citra pictures or forms are her nature, her swarupa, right? So everything in this world is her. But we give it try to assign a meaning, poetic meaning to the word citra-rūpiṇī. Everything in this world is her artistic expression. We can think like that, right? What a beautiful way to think. This world is her artistic expression, right? So, and we go back to the stutyā and stavanīya-svabhāvinī. She's praiseworthy. Right, and so a common thing we think is, it's more common. This language is very common in Western theology, but the equivalents are there in conceptions are there in Hindu thought of God. When we think of God as God or goddess, the divine reality, we try to give a definition. You can't give a definition, but you can give some. What are her qualities, or his qualities, or its qualities? To be God. What are and so I remember going back to my philosophy of religion class many years ago, right? We have like, what are the qualities attributed to God? We think of God philosophically, by definition, right? Besides that, we know he holds a flute and has a garland of florist flowers, or she holds a sword and sticks her tongue out at you, right? That is what God is, right? But we can think more philosophically. We think of we call the omni words, right? Omnipresent. What does omnipresent mean? Present everywhere, right? And then we think omnipotent. That means all powerful, right? All present, everywhere present, omnipotent, all powerful, right? And what's the other one? Omniscient, all knowing, knowing everything, right? And so one of our fellow students in that class, because he says, we can put all these together into omni-wonderful, right? Because actually omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient does not make God wonderful, right? It just means that there's someone or something that's all powerful everywhere and knows everything. What if that is impersonal and completely unconcerned? What if that is malignant? Right? Or, that could be. I can imagine a malignant being that creates everything. That's all powerful, all knowing, and everywhere present. That wouldn't be fun to think about too much, right? So because those qualities are not enough to make a God worshipable, actually, right? But the very things we attribute to God, by definition, does not make God worthy of praise, right? The omni-wonderful qualities, all loving, all compassionate, all blissful, or all bliss. We have other qualities that make God desirable, right? Who use that term? A God you would dance in front of? Was it Nietzsche? It may be like you have to have a God that you can dance in front of. You have David dancing naked in front of the tabernacle, in front of the ark, the Ark of the Covenant, right? He's dancing, right? He says that you need a God that you can love, that you can have an experience of, you can have that has some that's worthy of dancing in front of before, right? So omnipresent. But let's just take these philosophical ideas of omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, right? So you have one that's unlimited in presence and unlimited in power and unlimited in knowledge, right? That means there needs to be, by definition, if these are logical definitions, if we can take it like that, there needs to be. You have to be careful because we have people who could actually it doesn't mean that, but perhaps it could mean, right, that there needs to be something limited to define it, right? For something to pervade everything, it needs to have something that's not infinite to pervade. In order to have something to have power, all power over, it needs to be something that's not all powerful for it to have power over. Right, to be omniscient, it needs to be something that's not infinite for an infinite being to have full knowledge of. Right, so this is a little bit a subtle philosophical point, actually quite tantric point. This is a tantric text, so it was an appropriate tantric point. But the contemplations within Western theology of these points require, if you have an infinite God that's all powerful, all knowing, and all pervading. It requires something limited to pervade, know, and have power over.
Some would say the only thing it doesn't know is itself. And the only way for it to know itself is through something limited.
This is the point. Yes, that's the point, right? So for God to be God, if God means the one who's omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent, there needs to be something that's not omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, right? But there is nothing but God, right? So that's the play, right? So the one has to become somehow, at least, what is it? You assume myriad form through your yoga maya. Through this mysterious yoga maya, right? You become something, you limit yourself and therefore have power over it. You limit yourself and therefore have something to know. You limit yourself to have something to pervade. Right, it requires it requires a creation. Not the problem. The creation is not the right word, right? Because also within
Something veiled.
yes, so there's it requires an other when there is no other, right? For the unlimited to exist, there needs to be a limited to relate to. This is the idea, right? If we use that definition, we could reject that definition, in which case then the God changes considerably. Our definition of God will have to dramatically change. And maybe that God's more danceable in front of, right? Holding a beautiful flute, like that. Because the God that we can dance, the God that we can dance in front of, or the God that dances in front of us, like Krishna, right? His friends wrestle him to the ground, right? And right, it's like his own unlimited. He is not all powerful. His friends can wrestle him to the ground, So that's a mistake. It's a higher mystery. But by this yoga maya, you create this world. So this citra-rūpiṇī, I was just contemplating how citra, vicitrā, and citra-rūpiṇī, and in this verse, Swami Bhajanananda translated how through your yoga maya you create this world of this world of myriad forms, vicitrā. That citra-rūpiṇī, her nature is her very nature, her essential nature, her svabhava, her swarupa, right, is to manifest a world of name and form, right? And so we would put that in the language of Sri Ramakrishna as Kali and Brahman are non-different, right? That Brahman and it's her, let's just say her, for the sake of ease and theological correctness, right? Her nature is to constantly express. And so one definition, these are all complicated definitions, but one definition we can make of Shaktism, and this text is a Shakta text, so I'm boldly describing Shakta things, is that the Absolute is by nature creative. And so she is, another way of saying that, she's citra-rūpiṇī, right? Or what is it? Everything in this world is her artistic expression, right? That's her nature. It can't be otherwise, right? From our perspective, right? From our perspective. So I think that's a nice contemplation, right? Sunandā, nandinī, stutyā, stavanīya-svabhāvinī, raṇkiṇī, bhaṇkinī, citrā, vicitrā, citra-rūpiṇī. Are there any questions or comments? These are strange words coming together, but important ideas. Yes?
Can you tell us something of the eccentricities of Pujya Swami Bhajanananda?
No. I think I have to be careful because he's also one of the most educated, sophisticated people that I know, right? But it's also he has spent many years in extreme solitude, right? Contemplating Vedantic texts, right? Buried in snow for months and months at a time in a cave in Colorado mountains. Right, it's hard. One thing you can imagine somebody doing that in India, but he did that in America, right? Had to, and so you lose some social skills when you do such things sometimes, right? But he's also the nicest person. He's the most friendly, joyful, wonderful person. But his conversational skills are sometimes a little odd this way. So it could be something like that. But also it's just like he's I think better than strange is amazing. He really is quite, he's, there's also things, sometimes the strange part is that sometimes we all live in the material world in Kali Yuga, a little corner of Kali Yuga, and we all put our trishul in a different place where we will like this far and no more. How far you're willing to adjust to the material world and material, like that was how much do you compromise your religious ideals, right? It was how to like this, like that. And so, like, we're sadhus. We're not, and sadhus aren't supposed to compromise much. That's part of the like that. But we have to live in a world. We have to live. We have to obey traffic laws. We have. I mean, we don't have to, right? But it will be problematic, right? So we're using this is on Facebook, right? So Facebook is morally complicated, right? It's like so. But we're a public temple, and we're sharing spiritual knowledge and devotion to Ma, to our people here and to people everywhere, and so we find this to be acceptable, but still complicated. We don't feel good about using this technology, right? Or our podcast is on something that's owned by Apple, right? So this is also an Apple device, right? Is that okay? Right? For us, it's okay. It's acceptable. For him, it's not acceptable. He would never use Facebook. He would never use, he's very, it's like, and this type of, but the thing is, he lives in a cave, or he lived for many years in a cave, right? So his line's going to be different, right? He'll use a laptop, yeah.
Linux system.
Yeah, Linux system. He won't pay. It's funny because it's wonderful. He has a website. I think he probably still haven't looked at it in a long time, right? And you go to his website, and the first thing that comes up is a giant sign, right, that says "Message to Bill Gates," right? That you fundamentally misunderstand the nature of software, right? That it should be free and should not be made into a product, something like this, right? Message to everyone else: never pay for software. Right, like this is it's like so you can do that, and he's managed to live his life not paying for software, not pay, it's like as a principle, as a moral principle, and he's right probably, right, but I can't live that way. We could, but we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing, right? So that's also amazing, but it also makes you not fit to regular society, and in that sense also, so his standards are different, right? But he has a point, Like every time, I have to be careful if I even by accident mention something about Facebook in his presence, he immediately will scream, "You should cancel that Facebook immediately. You should only leave on Kali Mandir Facebook a sign and how to get to the website, right? Nothing else, and he has good reasons for it, right? He himself was stuck in Bangladesh due to some false Facebook posts. There was riots everywhere, and people died, and temples were burned down like this. He said that was all caused by. He says, I know for a fact that this is an evil system, right? I myself suffered. I was hiding, from this type of thing, entirely created by this. It's like the thing is, so we're careful. We don't say anything that causes people to riot, and we're really, really careful, right? We use it carefully, right? But that's an example. It's an interesting example, right? Of
Some years ago, we had just redesigned, took many months to redesign our website. We had just finished. And then he was here, staying for a few days. He told me, I can convert your website to Linux. What does a website need? You just need lists and pictures.
Yeah. But that's like a sadhu preaches the highest ideal. Yeah. So everywhere he goes, he installs Linux everywhere. Because the ideal is there. You can do what you want, but you should have that option. You didn't know the option existed. I didn't know the option existed. That you can have a free software system.
It's basically, imagine any website from 1995 and 94.
Yeah.
It's basically just.
Yeah, and there's a world of people who share open source programs and things like that. It's a very interesting world. I mean, we're not part of that world, but he's part of it. As a result, he's everything he needs to do. He knows there's an underground world of people who don't play into a certain aspect of the material world that they're not willing to accept, right? I think there's a I use that language that there's a price to pay for safe passage to the material world. So sometimes we have to pay something for the use of this. Otherwise, it gets complicated. But Jayama.
Can you tell us of Medanadi?
What's that?
Medanadi, how it relates to citra-rūpiṇī?
Medanadi. I have to get back. I have to get into my subtle anatomy. I have to reacquaint myself because we haven't thought of this in 9 months since our last. Or how long has it been? Only 4 months. When was our last subtle anatomy class? 3 months from I don't know. But so I have to think about that.
When you said that this isn't an ontology, were you talking about the name specifically, or each of these names? Because it sounds like when you say that it's the picture of form, or like out-picturing a form, like that sounds ontological.
Yeah. What was the question? I'm sorry?
I was just wondering, earlier you said this isn't part of her ontology.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know if you meant just that specific word, 252.
Which word was it?
Stavanīya.
Oh, so no, that I think I'm trying to remember what I said, but I have to go back. I have to go back and listen to what I said. But no. Meaning it's like that. Stavanīya means that she's whether she's worthy of praise or whether her nature itself is praise, something like that.
You weren't talking about the whole thing. You're
Yeah, I don't know. I have to go back and listen. I already forgot what I said. This is my. That's good. If I repeat myself to you, please forgive me. This is happening more and more. We become an Adbhut sadhu ourselves. Jai Sri Guru Maharaj Ji ki jai, Jai Mahamaya ki jai, Swamiji Maharaj Ji ki jai, Ma Dakshineshwari, Pavatarini Dakshina Kālī ki jai. Alright. Om. Arati karo. He's going. Time up to get to go. Turn up?
No.
You may have to stand up on the couch and get the right angle.
Oh, here. What would you No.
You are that. That? Oh. But what?
I got glasses like that.
What is that? Then she too has glasses.
Really?
Yeah.
Why does she have glasses?
Because you have glasses. She has glasses. You see, she is him, and me, and you, and all those people. She is that, and she is this, and she is this drum.
Really? And it doesn't hurt her?
No, never. She's beyond all pain. She experiences everything, and no pain. Pain is joy.
सर्वमङ्गलमङ्गल्यं वरेण्यं वरदं शुभं नारायणं नमस्कृत्य सर्वधर्मान् प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये नमः। ॐ सर्वदेवी श्री रामकृष्णाय नमः। ॐ जयन्ती मंगला काली भद्रकाली कपालिनी दुर्गा क्षमा शिवा धत्री सरस्वती श्रीपद्मो हिंदुं श्रीमालक्ष्मीकलकये नमः। आत्मानो हिंदुं श्रीमालक्ष्मीकलकये नमः। शुभकर्णवेगं ओ महाकालदेव सहिता श्रीमहालक्ष्मीकलकायै नमः। वर्धितं कर्णवेगं निवेदयामि।
Joy ma, jai ma, jai jai ma, jai ma, jai ma, jai jai ma, jai ma, jai ma, jai jai ma.
Dakshinamani Dakshina Kali ki Jai. Jai Ma Dakshineshwari Dakshina Kali ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Shri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Deva ki Jai. Jai Jagamata Shri Sharada Devi ki Jai. Jai Yugacharya Swami Vivekananda Maharaj Ji ki Jai. Jai Purna Tirtha Dakshineshwar Dham ki Jai. Namah Parvati Pate Har Har Mahadev. Shiva Shambhu.
കണ്ണുനീർ കൊണ്ടു പാദം കഴുക കാർത്യായനീ നീ കൈവിടലേ കാനുനീർ കൊണ്ടു പാദം കഴുക കാർത്യായനീ നീ കൈവിടലേ എത്ര നൽവേനം അംബികേ വദ്രൂപദർശനം ഏകുവാൻ എത്ര നൽവേനം അംബികേ വദ്രൂപദർശനം
Bo. Mahadev. He always finds the perfect flower. So one blooming flower in our Laguna probably. You can always find it.
Final flower of the day.
Yeah.